My presentation will mainly have three parts. In the first part, I will give information briefly about Turkish Steel Exporters Associations. In the second part, I give information about Turkish steel industry. And in the last part, I'm going to talk about steel trade between Turkey and CIS countries, focusing on Russia steel market. As Turkish Steel Exporter Association was formed in fact 30 years ago, but re-established in 2005. Today there is about over 1,000 members which are steel manufacturers and exporters in Turkey. In 2016, Turkish steel manufacturers produced 33.2 million tons of production, which made Turkey 8th largest steel producer. In the same year, Turkey became 9th biggest steel exporter and the 2nd largest rebar exporter after China. As Steel Exporter Association, we consult and assist our members in different ways, such as B2B meetings, trainings and workshops, market research reports. In general, main activities of our association are market research, organizing B2B meetings, public relations, consulting, promotion activities, and giving consultancy and support to the Turkish steel exporters as far as trade remedies and disputes are concerned. As in the second part, I give information about Turkish steel industry. Table shows steel industry. In the last 14 years, Turkey steel industry has showed a great progress in crude steel production and steel export. 2012 was the peak year for production and export. After 2012, the industry showed a downward trend in production and export and a boom in import with a record high level of almost 21 million tons in 2015. Consumption showed a healthy progress, as you see, and reached 33.4 million tons of level in 2015. 2016 has been relatively a better year for Turkish steel industry. Production increased to 33.2 million tons of crude steel. Export increased slightly and reached 16.5 million tons. Consumption decreased slightly and import sharply decreased. Here is the Turkey's export in 2016, which includes all products. Still is one of the top industries in Turkey in Turkish economy. Last year it has been the 5th biggest industry with 9.1 billion US dollar export, having approximately 7% share in Turkey's total export. As one of the top steel exporting countries, Turkey exports to over 200 countries worldwide. Main region is Middle East because of the location of the country. Middle East has taken almost 1/3 of Turkish steel export in 2016. Last year, top 3 regions for Turkish steel export, Turkish steel exporters, which were Middle East, Europe, and North America. They have 77% share of share combined in total steel export. You see some of the major projects that Turkish steel has been consumed. The most famous one is Burj Khalifa. We also have many infrastructure projects in Dubai, Heathrow Airport, gas pipelines in Greece and Israel, Azerbaijan, and lastly the last one, Trans-Anatolian gas pipeline, which across Turkey almost over 1,800 kilometers and consumes nearly 2 million tons of steel pipe. I would talk about briefly about the trade conflicts and trade remedy policies. Table shows steel industry trade conflicts in February 2017. We think that export backed by dumping and government incentives undermined the global industry, leading to a great number of investigations launched by against the Chinese steel industry. Actually, the situation is similar in other industries as well. China is on the top of the most frequent anti-dumping targets. You see that protectionism is an increasing trend worldwide, and it's being used as a political instrument nowadays. Dumping and related topics are quite something that countries should consider very sensitively. Any intention to block competition is far from being in favor of the local industry. In contrary, competition serves to the welfare of countries and contributes to their development, unless, of course, it's a fair competition. In this sense, political decisions of today with a short-term vision will have consequences tomorrow. Fair trade always contributes to the growth of countries, but dumped and subsidized trade is a serious threat for local industries as well as sustainability of the trade. And the dumped and subsidized trade hinders competitiveness and causes higher domestic market prices, which will result in higher investment costs in construction and infrastructure. Higher prices will incur extra costs for the public and private sector. So it is necessary to fight against such dumped and subsidized trade. In this regard, as we Turkish steel industry supports free trade and follow WTO rules, this attitude is one of the main drivers of the Turkish success in steel export. Turkish steel industry is always ready for collaboration in all measures to be taken against dumped and subsidized trade. Moving to the third part, I will talk about steel trade between Turkey and CIS countries and focusing on Russian steel market. Turkey and CIS countries, before starting to talk about this slide, I will take Georgia also in the CIS countries. You know, the Georgia exit from CIS in 2008, but I take CIS as a geographical region. Turkey and CIS countries are important trade partners and have an increasing trading activity with each other in the long term, despite the decrease in 2016. In 2016, Turkey's total export to the CIS country is $8.9 billion, with a 34 decrease compared to previous year. And Turkey's imports from CIS countries $20.9 billion, with the same decrease rate, 24%, compared to 2015. And the total trade volume between Turkey and CIS reached almost $30 billion. Among CIS countries, Turkey's top exporting country had been Russia in 2016. Turkey's total export to Russia is $1.7 billion. However, Turkey's export to Russia decreased to the nearly half of the previous year export. And Turkey's import from Russia decreased by 26% and became $15.2 billion. Total trade volume between Turkey and Russia is almost $17 billion. In the same year, 2016, Turkey exported 559,000 tons steel export to the CIS. Turkmenistan, if you look deeper into the region, Turkmenistan is had been the top destination for Turkish steel export, with 24,000 tons. Turkish steel export to Russia is in 2016 is significantly low, 32.4 thousand tons. In contrary to the Turkey's respectively low steel volume to the CIS, low steel export volume to the CIS, CIS truly Russia and Ukraine exported more volume of steel, 8 million tons, but in spite of the fact that CIS export also decreased 9.7% in 2016. If we look at Turkey-Russia steel trade deeply, we see there is an unequal trade. While Turkey exported 32,000 tons, Russia exported 4.8 million tons of steel to Turkey. Actually, both Turkey's export to Russia and import from Russia decreased respectively 9.1% and 25%. Turkey mostly imported steel billet with 1.7 million tons. The other main imported products are hot rolled steel, 1.15 million tons, and pig iron, cold rolled steel and slab. Turkey is the biggest scrap importer. Turkey imported to 70.7 million tons in 2016. Turkey's main important partners are US, UK, Russia, Netherlands, and Belgium. When you look at the graphs, you realize that the Turkey's scrap import from Russia reached the peak volume in the years between 2004 and 2007, because its main reason is that Russia exported 10 to 12 million tons of scrap. However, nowadays Russian scrap export decreased to do 5.6 million tons. Nevertheless, Turkey is the main export market for Russian scrap exporters. Compared to the scrap, Turkey's iron import is a lot of fewer, not in terms of volume, but the share in the world import. Total iron import in the world is 1 billion tons, and the Turkey just imported 10.4 million tons iron ore in 2016. Turkey mainly imported from Brazil and Russia and Sweden. Sweden comes after. Russia exported 18.5 million tons iron ore in 2016, and Turkey is in the third rank in the Russian export after China and Slovakia. This is my last slide. I want to finish my presentation with an overview on Russian steel industry. I just emphasize the comparison of consumption and export, which I took in the red circle. As you see, Russia domestic finished steel products consumption increased enormously after 2009 and 2011, and the gap between consumption and import increased until 2012. In the 2015, the demand for steel in Russia contracted by 10% to about 39 million tons. Specifically, the demand from the construction industry as the largest consumer of the rolled products, as well as from the car manufacturing industry, dropped by 12% and 25% respectively. The decrease continued in 2016. Therefore, Russian steel players try to fill the gap with foreign markets and increase their export. As you see, Russian export passed over Russian domestic consumption in 2016. Thank you for your attention.